the early years, we had things like ice houses and livery stables and general stores and things of that nature. Altamont is very fortunate in the fact that we have several railroads that pass through town, and we have the old National Road, which became then U.S. Highway 40, and now the present-day Interstate 70. And those have been very influential in Altamont's progress. Businesses then, over the years, transpired. Vehicles became more readily available to persons, and people would come to town in their car. And we had new car dealerships in the old days. So we had 5 new car dealerships, 5 implement dealerships in those days. Longevity has been one common thing. We have a number of businesses that have been 50, 60, 70, even 100 years that have been through several families in some cases. In the early years, business was kind of a way of gathering. It was a way of trading information, what was going on in your family and how was the crops doing. And businesses had awnings in front of their stores, and they had benches, and it was a gathering place. And businesses would then also put together like drawings. So they would have cash drawings they would give away, and that would attract people to come, and it becomes a bandstand. In our community center, we don't have a town square like most towns do. Altamont has a town triangle. And that was largely due to how the streets were laid out because of the railroad being at an angle. And on that triangle was the bandstand, and it was a gathering place. As I said, bands would play, and the high school band would play for concerts. And as the time where Altamont grew some and people needed homes, so the campground became selling lots, and it became a subdivision. Consequently, from the Frederick King family, the Town and Country subdivision began, and with that also a construction company, which was Frederick King Construction. The businesses that have been here probably the longest are businesses such as my own. Started as Grobingieser Sons. It's changed through the years, but that business sold appliances back as early as 1914. We have a couple funeral homes in town, Cool Funeral Home and Giesking Funeral Home, both 60+ years in business, family businesses. We have A&H Implement, also a family business, 60+ years, 70 years. But probably the most longest running business has been the continuation of the Altamont News, established shortly after Altamont became a city or a village, if you will. Today, businesses have changed a bit. We have, with the interstate, as I said earlier, we have the motels, and we have a beautiful event center by the Ramsey family, along with the Cobblestone Motel, and we have 2 other hotels and motels in town for people to stay. At one time, we had several restaurants near the interstate. The Causet family had a hotel, and they also had a restaurant. And that has now given way to fast food chains. McDonald's, Subway, Joe's Pizza are all in town. Jack Flash, all part of the businesses that migrated from the interstate times. Larger businesses in town, the nursing home is one large business. The Irwin Seating, a large manufacturing seating for sports venues, manufactured right here in Altamont. Deb's Catering Businesses has been an ongoing business employing 50+ employees. Today, again, we have a grocery store, we have a bakery, we have doctor's offices, and a plethora of businesses that have been ongoing and all been thriving, making Altamont a healthy and prospering and thriving place, all part of Altamont's business community. I think the connection to people, knowing their situations, knowing people, and the trust, I think that's what has kept many businesses going through the years. It's not just the livelihood for the business owner themselves, but having an interest and the genuine interest in other people. It's not just selling a product, but it's providing a service. And I think that's been important. And whether that's been your baker or your doctor or your funeral director or your insurance agent or whomever it might have been, I think that's an important thing. That's what's kept it thriving and things going. So people come because they know who you are, and they built that trust.
Gilbert Park is named in honor of Mayor Wright Gilbert, who was our mayor here from 1971 to 1979. Ray was also a businessman in construction, and he was a visionary. So he had this vision for Gilbert Park to be a multi-ball field complex. He was so good at selling his vision that he brought the president of the Fast Pitch Softball Association down here to ask him if they could host the state tournament the following year. There wasn't even a field built here yet. So he was able to convince him of his vision, and the following year they started doing the Illinois Men's Fast Pitch Tournament here on the 4th of July weekend, and that went on for many years. And now, 50 years later, it's still the busiest place in town on a summer night, where you can go and watch t-ball or girls softball or baseball, and even in the fall, junior soccer leagues. Schmidt Park is our largest park, named in honor of Arnold Schmidt, longtime resident of this town, and he was very instrumental in the development of the park and how it is today. The original portion of the park was just under 5 acres, probably incorporated in about 1884. And one of the most interesting facts that I found about the park was late in that century, it would be the site of Civil War veteran reunions. Come along about the 1970s, the local Lions Club here in town got interested to purchase there was an adjoining 7 acres there on the west side. So that group got together and they acquired the land, and they put in the work for the addition to the park, and local lumberyard got involved. The American Legion built a new pavilion that you can still use today. They built a ball field with the few acres of timber that still stand there. They had foot trails where you can go and enjoy nature, and still can today. Norrie's Yard, a neighborhood lady named Norrie Everhart. She was kind of the neighborhood grandmother. All the kids would gather in her yard, and she would bake cookies and just love on them. And that was always affectionately known as the neighborhood as Norrie's Yard. So when she passed away in the 70s, Dr. Holscutter and his family purchased the land and tore down her home and built a little park there. Now you see a tennis court and basketball court there, a gazebo, and eventually Frog Pond Nursery School came into play there, which is still going on today. So it's just a great legacy on how a person can have a lasting effect on their community. Klitzing Park is named in honor of Walter Klitzing, who was also a mayor of Altamont, but also a longtime city attorney. And again, I turn back to the vision of Mayor Ray Gilbert. This was the site of our original public school, and when it was shut down in '76 and then subsequently tore down, he had the vision to acquire that through the city and make it into a park. And originally the park was built to pay homage to the local railroads that served this region for many years, and there are still remnants of that. You look at the pavilions, and they used salvaged materials from our old train station. When you look at the corbels, those are actually the ones that were used on our old train station, and some of the signs of the old railroads that were here. And the Altamont Veterans Memorial is located in Union Cemetery. Back around 2001, an interested group from the local VFW post decided that we needed to have a Veterans Memorial here in this community. And in September of 2004, we were able to come out and dedicate that memorial with about 250 people. And it's the place where we have our memorial ceremonies each and every Memorial Day. There are close to 1,000 names on the slabs of that memorial, and we're still taking names to this day. You can still have names put on that, so we're proud to have that memorial in our community.
Lutheran Care Center is a not-for-profit, faith-based organization providing care and services to the Altamont community. The facility that now houses Lutheran Care Center was originally built by Dr. Delbert Holsketter. It all started with Dr. Holsketter's vision and recognition of need for care for his parents and the elderly in our community. In December of 1969, Pleasant Acres Nursing Home, a 92-bed skilled care facility, was built. The facility quickly acquired a reputation for quality skilled nursing care and rehabilitation services. After only being open 6 years, expansion was needed. In 1975, there was construction of a new wing and it was completed. This addition provided an increase in beds to 96, a larger physical therapy department, beauty and barber shop, an enlarged activity area, as well as meeting rooms. During 1978, area Lutheran churches became interested in ownership of the facility and established a not-for-profit corporation. It was then named Lutheran Care Center. On October 1st, 1980, after operating the facility under a lease agreement with Dr. Holsketter for 1 year, the Lutheran churches acquired ownership. To date, 20 Lutheran churches in the Tri-County area own and support Lutheran Care Center. The residents who live in our facility are some of the sweetest, most generous, knowledgeable people that we learn so much from. Things that they have seen in their life are extraordinary. We have so much family support, so much community support, volunteerism of all ages. It starts in grade school, goes through high school. We have a volunteer program for adults, and the churches, it's amazing. In 2006, LCC Kids Enrichment Center was built on our campus. Unique to LCC Kids is the opportunity for the children to enjoy intergenerational experiences and activities with the older adults that live on our campus. There's a lot of children that don't have grandparents or great-grandparents close to them, so they're comfortable. It's nothing to see one of those little 2 or 3-year-olds scale a wheelchair and get up on their lap and squeeze their neck, and it makes the day of the resident and it makes the child's day. It's a bright spot. I feel like Lutheran Care Center is far more than just a nursing home or a child care center, but really a mission of the church and an integral part of the Altamont community that we have served for 55 years and plan to serve into the future.
Charles M. Wright was born in Ohio in 1834, and after graduating medical school in Philadelphia in 1857, he migrated west, buying a stagecoach ticket as far as his money would take him, which was to the central part of Effingham County in an area then known as Ewington. In 1870, Dr. Wright moved again and settled in Altamont, moving into a house that was on present-day West Washington Street. In 1888, Dr. Wright decided to build a new single-family residence. The family's existing 2-story frame home, built in 1874, was moved from the site directly east across Main Street to the corner lot where it remains today. The Wright family continued to live in the frame home while the new brick home was under construction. Once the old house was moved, construction began on the current structure in May 1889. It was a project so large that 2 special sheds were built on the property as workshops for the craftsmen who would spend the next several months building what was surely one of the largest and most modern residences for miles around. The materials, labor, and furnishings for the new home total approximately $35,000. Present-day inflation calculators tell us that would be about the equivalent of $1.25 million today. Before actual construction on the Wright house began, though, Dr. Wright thoroughly researched building styles, furnishings, and materials using bound volumes of Scientific American and other periodicals. The final design was by Charles Spillman of Edwardsville, Illinois. The house itself is an Italianate L-shaped two-story or asymmetrical structure. Bricks make up both its external and internal walls, which vary from 8 to 13 inches thick, and which are laid in the American bond fashion. There are over 400,000 bricks in the house, and they cost 2.5 cents a piece. They were made by the St. Louis Hydraulic Pressed Brick Company and shipped to Altamont by train for the project. There are stone quoins at the exterior corners of the home, which has a half-hipped dormer breaking into a general hipped roof. The roof consists of multicolored slate shingles. There are pedimented dormers with a 2/2 pane configuration located on the north, west, and south sides of the roof. A rectangular porch covering the front doors is located on the south side of the southeast corner of the house. Pedimented roofs cover the north and west doors. Upon entering the double front doors, there is a long central hallway with oak flooring. A cherry staircase on the west side of the hallway leads upstairs. There are 4 functional fireplaces on the first floor, located in the living room, parlor, dining room, and library. During the 1930s, the Wright family redecorated for a more modern look. At the time, the original wool floral carpeting was replaced with oak hardwood flooring throughout most of the house. Only the northeast corner upstairs bedroom has the original carpeting remaining in place. The dining room has hard maple and walnut parquet flooring, and visitors will notice that Dr. Wright had the letter W put in the floor in front of the dining room fireplace. While Charles III continued to work for Shell, his father, Charles II, retired from medical practice in 1967, following, according to his obituary, a serious illness. In his 65 career as a doctor in Altamont, Charles II had delivered over 1,000 babies. In 1971, Charles III sold 10.4 acres on the western edge of the property to the Altamont School District for the purpose of potentially building a new grade school. But in 1975, a new school was built across town, and this school was never built on the former Wright property. Today, that is known as the Wright Agricultural Plot, and it is farmed by the Altamont High School chapter of the FFA. From 1970 to 1977, the big home on North Main Street sat empty, until after 40 years as an attorney, Charles III retired and moved to his family home. In retirement, Charles III would spend time pursuing his lifelong passion of reading, amassing a collection of over 7,200 books, which still remain in the home today. And on occasion, he would give visitors tours of his home. In 1981, Charles III wrote a history of the house and its significance, and succeeded in having it listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1986. Charles Wright III would die in 2001. He had never married and he never had children, but he did have the foresight to create a trust which would preserve his family's home for future generations to admire and enjoy. A local financial institution was named as the trustee. Since 2003, the Dr. Charles M. Wright House has operated as a not-for-profit private house museum to showcase its beauty, its numerous original features, which were at the time of its construction the edge of modern convenience, and maintain this singular home on Altamont's north side. It is unlikely that when moving to Altamont in 1870, Dr. Wright would have thought a home that he would build would remain over 135 years later. Nor could he have known that his son and grandson would live in and maintain that same home. Altamont is fortunate that Charles Wright III recognized the importance and the uniqueness of his family's home and left it in such a circumstance that it could be maintained for future generations. And for that, we are truly grateful.
I live north of Altamont. I farm, and I went through the 4-H program. My father was in 4-H. My kids were in 4-H, my wife was in 4-H, our grandkids are beginning to start in 4-H. So we have lived at the fair our entire life. The fair started in 1945 with its inaugural fair that they put on with 3 buildings. They had a wooden grandstand, they had the floral hall, and they had a horse barn. And they put on a fair that was hugely successful. And so then from that point on, they decided to build a concrete grandstand, and just the forethought of those individuals that built that grandstand that we are still using today is just awesome. It is a concrete structured. It held 2,500 people at the time, but it did not have a roof, so they put a tarp over the roof for several years. Well, you can imagine with a tarp, they had wind issues, and somebody supposedly threw a cigarette on it, they think, and it caught on fire. So they decided it was time to put a metal roof on it. So they had an engineer design a metal roof. It had 45 ton of steel I-beams in it and 10 ton for just the roof, which is put on it now, and it exists still today. Now, in the past, as you can see by the pictures, the fair used a lot of tents in the beginning days, and it transitioned into buildings. Those buildings majority of them are gone today, and with new, more modern buildings put in. The first inaugural fair was a 5-day fair. They started with 5 days, and now we have grown it into an 8-day fair. We have several events that go on during the fair. We start to kick off the fair every year with a 5K run. The people get to run on the horse track, which is a unique experience for them to be able to run around the horse track twice. And then after that, that would be on this Saturday morning, and then we go into the PPL pull. We have 3 pulls at our fair throughout the week of the fair, on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And then on Tuesday, we have the Queen Contest. It goes very well across the county. We get girls from all different parts of the county. And then we also have the rodeo, which we have a complete rodeo, which is barrel racing, broncs, bulls, the roping, and it's just a packed night. We get to fill the facilities on that night. And then Friday night we have our concert, which is our country and western concert, and in the past we have been building that up every year. We've had to move the stage farther back so we can be able to accommodate more people. We close out the fair with the demo derby. It's always very, very popular, very intense. Everybody is really cheering on their people. It gets pretty loud sometimes in the pit because everybody's cheering when somebody hits the wrong person. We had a carnival area that we've always had a great Lures Carnival. We've always had them in the last several years, and they do a phenomenal job, but we always get a rain during the fair, which is a kind of a tradition to have a rain. They've asked us to make a hard surface place for them to be. Well, concrete was out of the realm of cost, so there was a regrind, and we got to get that from the county. This year they had the carnival set up, and we had an inch of rain an hour before the carnival started. It drained away. The carnival opened in an hour after opening ceremony, and no one ever knew that it rained. 4-H is a huge part of our fair. We have 21 clubs represented in our fair, which is over 450 kids participate in our fair every year, showing in. There's like 21 classes for them to show their livestock in, and there's 4 open classes. They have exhibits. They have where they can bring in welding, wiring, that kind of thing also. And everything from rabbits to chickens to dairy to llamas. We have everything for them to participate in. So there's everything from a rabbit to a big dairy cow we have for the kids to be able to bring. And the one thing that we do have that it started out on the first fair had it, and we have it up today, is harness racing. We have 6 days of harness racing. It's more racing than any other fair in the United States has, so we're very proud of that. So everything we do is based around family, and we hope to keep it that way.
Welcome back. We are still celebrating Altamont. This is our story. We want to thank everybody at home who has already called in to get their copy of the show. It means the absolute world. We'll kick off this block. We got a couple of shout outs and thank yous. We've got Carolyn Harder from Altamont calling in, getting her copy. Thank you so much. We have Jamie Schrader from Springfield. Thank you so much. Carrie Coons out of St. Elmo. Thomas Mayer out of Spring, Texas. Texas, you're watching from Texas. Thank you so much. We've got Patrick Flock. I hear that's Robbie's husband. And then, of course, Sarah Stephen, our beloved champion. She's in-house with us. She has been pivotal to making this project flow so smoothly from start to now. Sarah, we thank you. I know you don't want the thanks, but we can't help it. We love you so much.
All right, I have some thank yous here as well. Harry Kirchhoff from Dacula, Georgia. So we've got people calling from all over the United States tonight. Cole Burrell from Altamont, Robert Hammer, Altamont, Nanette Wendling, Altamont, and Claudia Berg from Altamont. Altamont is supporting Altamont tonight. Way to go.
From here in the area and from far away.
Yes. So if you want a copy of the program, the number is at the bottom of your screen. Don't miss out. One copy is $75, 2 or more are $60 each. And we have a DVD, Blu-ray, or flash drive for you this evening. So you can give us a call. The operators are standing by. And speaking of that, I think Lacey is going to talk to one of our storytellers right now.
Yes, if this gentleman looks familiar, you just wrapped up our fantastic fair story. Nothing is more fun than going and checking out the rides. From top to bottom, you got the food, the fair pageant. You covered it all so beautifully, but many hands make a light load, okay? So we want to talk about our volunteers. Fill us in.
Yes, the fair operates with 15 board members, and then we meet every month and get the fair set up and get everything organized. We used to think, everybody thinks that fair just happens in the summertime, but it's a year-round process getting everything done. I wanted to shout out to our superintendents that run all of our livestock shows, our general projects. We have a bunch of group of ladies that take care of the Queen contest. We have a talent show. We have a ton of visitors or volunteers that does like the tractor pulls. The fair would not be as successful as it is without all the volunteers that show up. We've just got done celebrating our 80th anniversary, and we're super proud of that. And then, like I said, we couldn't do it without our volunteers.
No, and I know you feel like you misspoke saying so many visitors, but truly, seeing all of those pictures, that's some of the best memories that a lot of these people are going to have every year, getting the family together, going to the fair.
Oh, absolutely. We have campers. They come in and they schedule their family vacation for that week, and they stay there the entire week in the campers. We have over 100 campers, all family. It's really awesome.
No, we appreciate you coming on and talking about the fair. Thank you so much. And we're going to go ahead and toss it over to Kian with another interview.
Thank you, Lacey. So wonderful. So many volunteers in Altamont stepping up to do everything that they need to get done there. Lots of community support. Speaking of community support, we had a lot of businesses. You gave them a shout out through your story. Boy, we hardly left anything out, but you did want to mention something about...
We've left out several,
yeah,
I'm sure,
yeah.
but a lot of great. But it was really unique about Altamont in that, and maybe not so unique to just Altamont, but I remember back as a young boy that we would have the 12 o'clock whistle. The fire whistle would go off at 12 noon. Doesn't do that any longer, but it signaled for everybody to close up shop, walk home for lunch, and then come back at 1 o'clock. So if you needed something between 12 and 1, you weren't going to get it. No. You were going to have to wait. So it was kind of a unique thing, I thought, growing up. Businesses that have been there for a long, long time, many businesses have, but the one family that was there for many, many years was called the Grobengieser family, and they started in 1914, as I said in the video. And there was a lot of spin-offs from that businesses. We had the businesses that exist today from that all started with Grobengieser Sons. R&H Plumbing and Heating started as employees of Roy Schultz and Harry Hayden. Both were employees of Grobengieser Sons back in the day. And I think at one time there was many people could say that at some point in time, almost anybody from their family might have worked for Grobengiesers at one time or another. It was kind of a unique business. They wore a lot of hats. They did floor covering, they did hardware, plumbing and heating.
And a lot of spin-offs from that business, for sure.
A lot of spin-offs from it, you bet.
Now, you did want to mention one other individual that was a businessman in Altamont.
He was a unique individual. His name was Ben Winter. And Ben was also a man that wore many, many hats. Altamont has had a lot of unique individuals, businessmen in the past, but he had a couple of stone quarries, but he also had a keen interest in wildlife and trees, specifically pecan trees. He had a grove of pecan trees that he planted behind his business. And then he also had steam engines, and I actually started a museum, a very interesting museum. One little spin-off that I didn't mention from that, one of his goals, he had a large greenhouse at the back of his museum, and his goal was to grow every plant that was mentioned in the Bible. So he had so many unique things, like he had a fig tree, and I don't think there was anybody in the area that probably could say they had a fig tree along with all kinds of other things that he might have had.
He sounds like a really unique individual and a lot of different
He was
interests.
definitely that.
Yeah. So some shout outs to some other businessmen that didn't make the show, but we are giving them a shout out here this evening. Lots of history to be shared. You're so knowledgeable, Roger. So glad you're here with us this evening.
Just a lot of people that shared information with me. I'm not that old.
Well, no, but you know what? That's what we're doing. We're working together, right? All right. Thanks for being here tonight.
Sure.
Once again, the number is at the bottom of your screen. Give us a call. The phone operators are standing by. We've had a few phone calls while we've been interviewing a couple of the storytellers, but right now is your opportunity to call. The phones are quiet. We don't like it when it's quiet. We want you to give us a call because your energy gives us energy. I'm going to give it back over to Lacey. Lacey has another individual we're going to talk with shortly.
Yes, I am talking with Dave Porter. I believe your wife is around here somewhere. But you have the honor of getting to talk about some of the treasured medical providers in this community. For such a small community to have so many health providers in your backyard, can you fill us in?
Yes, thank you. I've been a resident of Altamont area for over 50 years, and I've always been impressed with the medical facilities that we have in our community.
Sure.
We've had two medical doctors for quite some time, and currently we have Dr. Rob Frost, who is affiliated with HSHS, and we have Dr. John Opilka, affiliated with Sarah Bush. Really high-tech, up-to-date medical facilities. Each of those doctors have the help of several nurse practitioners,
Sure.
which is just tremendous. We have two dentists in our small community, Dr. Chris Sahi, and then more recently, Dr. Robert Huey has been added. And there again, for two medical doctors and two dentists, we also have a chiropractor. Dr. Steve Bailey has Bailey's Chiropractic Service. Dr. Weber has Weber Optics for those of us that really need some help.
Absolutely.
Dr. Tony Weber. So there again, doctors and doctors and doctors. We have three different physical therapy offices. One is affiliated with HSHS, one is affiliated with Sarah Bush, and there's an independent called, I think, Inline Physical Therapy. So with all that said, I just feel that we are a very blessed community.
No, absolutely. It sounds like you all are very well taken care of. When we hear these medical facilities, it has a special place for WEIU's heart as well. We host a health show here. We've got a lot of community partners. So we appreciate you, Dave, coming on here and highlighting some of these great physical medical practitioners, if you will.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll come back over here with Kian. We've got our family set, though. We've got our friends here. We've still got Randy Melville. His story's coming up in our next block, talking about Threshermans. And it is a little quiet in here, though.
It is
Hello.
quiet. Where's those phones? Come on, get those cell phones up. It's not that late.
If you saw the fair story and you saw maybe somebody that you did 4-H with,
Yes.
perfect. We would love to have you all call in. And then also, as we were talking about parks and veterans memorials, you had a really cool tidbit that you learned as well.
I did. You know, we do a lot of research on all of these stories along with the storytellers and everyone who's part of the program. But sometimes we're looking for little nuggets and pictures and different things like that. So I came across a gentleman named Brian Gilbert, and he just happened to be the son of Ray Gilbert. And we got to talking on Facebook, messaging back and forth, and he gave me a little something here I'd like to talk about, Ray.
Absolutely.
So Ray is Brian's father, and some funny little things here. He had the best sideburns.
Oh, yeah.
And he got a plaque at the 1971 Centennial Celebration. So he was in the park story, so you saw him with the sideburns, and that was his Elvis period, is what Brian says. So this is something that he says about his dad. The word can't wasn't in his vocabulary. He was a forward thinker and a doer. His dad played softball in the early 50s at the field that was located inside the track at the local fairgrounds. Around 1975, he drew the blueprints for what eventually became Gilbert Park, and he had a dream of hosting the state tournament. His dad shared the vision with State Softball Commissioner Chuck McCord, and Chuck believed in his vision, and he granted Altamont the 1976 tournament.
Oh.
And he says it was a real honor when the powers that be named the park in his dad's honor, and his dad was also inducted into the Illinois Amateur Softball Hall of Fame in 1982, shortly before his untimely death the following year.
And when you get to add a little more color to a story, it always means a lot. The family connection.
It does. The family connection, and that's one thing that we're seeing about Altamont. You hear all the different people wanting to give shout outs to all these different people. It's because it's important to them. It's important to us, and that's why we do this show.
Yes, so if you're wanting a copy of the show this evening, $75 for one copy, a DVD, a Blu-ray, or a flash drive. And then 2 or more discs, you can get those for $60 each. And so again, the number's at the bottom of your screen, or you can go to WEIU.net. But I think for now, we're going to go ahead and send you back to our next block of stories.
That's right. Don't go anywhere. This is the last block.